If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge. And when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the audiobook. Chapter 1. The Rise of a Tyrant and the Divine Boon. Part 1. Hiranyakashipu's Vow for Invincibility. The Penance to Brahma. Long ago, in the race of demons called Asuras, there lived a powerful being named Hiranyakashipu. His brother Hiranyaksha had been killed by Lord Vishnu when the Lord took the form of Varaha, the great boar. This death filled Hiranyakashipu's heart with terrible anger and desire for revenge. Hiranyakashipu was strong and proud, but he knew that to defeat Vishnu, he needed power beyond what any ordinary being could possess. He decided to perform the most severe penance to please Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Only from Brahma could he obtain the divine boon that would make him invincible. He went to the mountains of Mandara and chose the harshest place he could find. There he began his meditation. For 1,000 years he stood on one toe with his arms raised to the sky. He ate nothing and drank nothing. The heat of the sun burned his body during the day, and the cold winds froze him at night. His penance was so intense that smoke began to rise from his head. The heat from his meditation started to burn the three worlds. The earth shook, the oceans boiled, and all living beings suffered from the terrible heat. Even the gods in heaven felt afraid as the cosmic balance began to break. Hiranyakashipu thought only of revenge. He did not care that his actions caused pain to countless beings. His mind was fixed on one goal: to become so powerful that he could destroy Vishnu and rule over all creation. Day after day, year after year, he continued his penance without moving or eating. The heat from his body became so great that it threatened to destroy everything. Fire came from his hair and spread in all directions. The very foundations of the universe began to shake. All creatures cried out in fear and pain. Finally, Lord Brahma could no longer ignore what was happening. The suffering of all beings and the danger to creation itself forced the Creator God to appear before Hiranyakashipu. When Brahma arrived, cool water fell from the sky, and the terrible heat stopped. Hiranyakashipu opened his eyes and saw the four-faced Brahma standing before him. His body was thin and weak from the long penance, but his eyes burned with ambition and hatred. He had succeeded in his goal. Through his severe austerities, he had forced the Creator God himself to come. Brahma spoke in a voice that filled the air like thunder. He praised Hiranyakashipu for his dedication and the strength of his penance. Such discipline and focus were rare, even among the greatest sages and gods. But Brahma also saw the darkness in Hiranyakashipu's heart. The demon king's penance was not done with pure love or desire for wisdom. It was driven by hatred, pride, and the wish to destroy. This made his spiritual power dangerous to all creation. Still, Brahma had to honor the penance. The cosmic law required that such dedication be rewarded. He told Hiranyakashipu to ask for whatever boon he desired, and it would be granted. This moment would change the fate of all three worlds. The demon king's years of painful discipline were about to bear fruit, but the seeds of his own destruction were also being planted. Great spiritual power without goodness and humility leads only to ruin, though the one who gains it cannot see this truth. Part 2. The Boon with Conditions. The Unkillable Demon King. When Brahma appeared before Hiranyakashipu, the Demon King had prepared his words carefully. He had thought deeply about what to ask for during his long years of penance. He knew that even Brahma could not grant complete immortality, for death is part of the natural order. But he could ask for protection that would make him nearly impossible to kill. Hiranyakashipu bowed before the Creator and spoke his request with great care. Lord Brahma, grant me this boon. Let me not be killed by any man or any animal. Let me not die during the day or during the night. Let me not be killed inside any building or outside in the open. Let me not die on the earth or in the sky. Let no weapon be able to harm me." He thought he was very clever in his asking. If no man could kill him, then the gods who appeared as men would be powerless. If no animal could kill him, then the avatars of Vishnu who took animal forms could not harm him. If he could not die during day or night, then there would be no time when death could come. If he could not be killed inside or outside, there would be no place where death could find him. If he could not die on earth or in the sky, there would be no ground for his destruction. If no weapon could harm him, then all the divine weapons would be useless against him. Brahma listened to these words and felt troubled. He could see the demon's cunning mind at work. But the cosmic law was clear. Such severe penance had to be rewarded. The dedication and suffering that Hiranyakashipu had shown demanded that his wish be granted. "So be it," Brahma said with sadness in his heart. "All that you have asked for is granted to you." The moment these words were spoken, Hiranyakashipu felt power flow through his body like fire. He became stronger than ever before. His skin became harder than the toughest metal. His eyes blazed with the confidence of one who believed he could never be defeated. But Brahma looked at him with pity, not joy. The Creator knew what the Demon King could not see. In his cleverness, Hiranyakashipu had left gaps in his protection. He had not asked to be safe from beings who were neither fully man nor fully animal. He had not protected himself from the time between day and night. He had not thought about places that were neither inside nor outside. He had not considered the space between earth and sky. He had not imagined weapons that were not made by hands. As Hiranyakashipu celebrated his victory, Brahma disappeared, leaving the demon alone with his newfound power. The tyrant returned to his kingdom with the confidence of one who thought himself beyond the reach of death. He began to rule with even greater cruelty than before. He declared himself the supreme god of all three worlds. He banned all worship of Vishnu and the other gods. He forced everyone to worship only him. The boon that was meant to protect him became the source of his greatest arrogance. He believed that even Vishnu could not touch him now. He thought he had outsmarted the entire cosmic order. But divine justice works in ways that the proud mind cannot understand. The very cleverness that Hiranyakashipu thought would save him would become the path to his destruction. Part 3. The birth of Prahlada, the devoted son in a house of tyranny. The very cleverness that Hiranyakashipu thought would save him would become the path to his destruction. Yet, in the midst of his growing darkness, a divine light was preparing to enter his own house. While Hiranyakashipu was drunk with power, his wife Kayadhu carried their child in her womb. The Demon King was away, busy conquering the three worlds and forcing everyone to worship him. He did not know that his own son would become his greatest enemy. During this time, the gods were in hiding from Hiranyakashipu's cruelty. The wise sage Narada was wandering the earth, looking for ways to restore peace. He found Kayadhu alone and afraid. Her husband had become a monster, and she did not know what kind of child she was carrying. Narada felt great compassion for her. He began to teach her about Lord Vishnu, the protector of all beings. He told her stories of Vishnu's love and mercy. He explained how the Lord watches over those who call his name with true devotion. Kayadhu listened with growing peace in her heart. But something wonderful was happening. The child in her womb was also listening to every word. Even before birth, the baby's soul was drinking in the sacred teachings. The divine names of Vishnu were entering his heart like drops of nectar. Each story of God's love was shaping his very being. When the child was born, Hiranyakashipu named him Prahlada. The Demon King looked at his son with pride and joy. He saw his heir, the future ruler who would carry on his reign of terror. He planned to teach the boy to hate Vishnu and worship only his father. But from his earliest days, Prahlada was different. While other children played with toys, he would sit quietly and repeat the name of Vishnu. His eyes would shine with an inner light that seemed to come from another world. His words were gentle and filled with wisdom that amazed even the adults around him. Hiranyakashipu noticed his son's strange behavior, but thought it was just childhood foolishness. He sent Prahlada to the best teachers in the kingdom. These teachers were loyal to the Demon King and taught only what he wanted them to teach. They filled their lessons with praise for Hiranyakashipu and hatred for the gods. Yet no matter what they taught him, Prahlada would speak only of Vishnu. He would tell his classmates about God's infinite love. He would explain how Vishnu protects all who surrender to him. His faith was like a river that could not be stopped or turned aside. The teachers were puzzled and then frightened. How could this child resist all their teachings? How could he speak of devotion when he lived in a house that banned all worship of the gods? They began to realize that something beyond their understanding was at work in this boy. Prahlada's devotion grew stronger each day. He would wake before dawn and pray to Vishnu. He saw the Lord's presence in every flower, every bird, every ray of sunlight. His love for God was so pure and complete that it began to shine from his very being like light from a lamp. This was the great paradox that would shake the three worlds. In the house of the greatest enemy of God, the most devoted servant of God had been born. Part 4. Defiance of Faith. Prahlada's unshaken devotion to Lord Vishnu. HTML. When Hiranyakashipu saw that his son still worshipped Vishnu despite all warnings, his anger burned like fire. He called his ministers and guards. "This boy brings shame to our family," he said. "He refuses to obey me. He must be stopped." The Demon King ordered his servants to kill Prahlada. They tried many ways to destroy the child. First, they gave him deadly poison mixed with his food. Prahlada ate the food without fear, chanting Vishnu's name. The poison turned harmless in his body like pure water. The guards were amazed, but they did not give up. They brought wild elephants and made them trample the boy under their heavy feet. But when the elephants came near Prahlada, they became gentle and would not harm him. Instead, they bowed their heads before the child as if they saw something divine in him. Then they threw Prahlada into a blazing fire. The flames reached high into the sky, burning everything around them. But Prahlada sat peacefully in the fire, singing songs of praise to Lord Vishnu. The fire could not touch him. It was as if he was protected by an invisible shield. The servants tried again. They took Prahlada to the top of a high mountain and threw him down from the cliff. The rocks below were sharp and deadly. But as Prahlada fell, he felt as if gentle hands caught him. He landed softly on the ground without a single scratch. They put him in a room full of poisonous snakes. The serpents came near him with their hoods raised and fangs ready. But when they saw Prahlada's peaceful face and heard him chanting God's name, they became calm and moved away. Each time they tried to kill him, Prahlada was saved by divine power. He never showed fear or anger. He never stopped loving Vishnu. His faith remained as strong as a mountain that cannot be moved by storms. Hiranyakashipu grew more furious with each failure. "How can this boy survive everything we do to him?" he asked his ministers. They had no answer. Some began to whisper among themselves that perhaps the child was protected by powers beyond their understanding. Prahlada's devotion was pure and complete. He did not pray to be saved from danger. He prayed only to serve God better. He saw every trial as a test of his love for Vishnu. This faith made him stronger than any weapon or poison. The boy's courage inspired others in the kingdom. Quietly, some people began to remember their own forgotten prayers. They saw that true devotion could not be destroyed by force or fear. Part 5. The Growing Terror. Hiranyakashipu's Reign and Wrath. As Hiranyakashipu's rage against his son grew deeper, so did his cruelty toward the entire universe. The Demon King could not bear that anyone, especially his own child, would worship Vishnu instead of him. This anger spread like poison through all his actions. He declared new laws across his vast kingdom. No one could pray to any god except Hiranyakashipu himself. All temples were closed. Sacred fires that had burned for centuries were put out. Priests were forbidden from performing any rituals. The holy sounds of prayers and chants fell silent. Those who dared to worship in secret were punished harshly. Some were thrown into dark prisons. Others lost their homes and lands. Fear filled the hearts of all people. They lived in constant worry that someone might see them praying and report them to the king. The gods themselves had to hide from Hiranyakashipu's wrath. They could not walk freely in any realm. Indra, the king of gods, stayed hidden in the clouds. Agni, the fire god, dimmed his flames. Even the wind god Vayu moved more quietly, afraid to make sound that might anger the demon king. Rivers stopped flowing toward temples. Animals fled from sacred groves. The very earth seemed to shake with fear under the tyrant's rule. What had once been a world filled with devotion and peace became a place of silence and terror. But Hiranyakashipu's greatest fury remained focused on his son. Every day, Prahlada's simple prayers to Vishnu felt like daggers in his father's heart. The child's peaceful face and gentle words reminded the demon king of his own hatred and fear. "How dare this boy defy me?" he would roar in his palace halls. "I am the supreme ruler of all worlds. I have power over life and death, yet my own son will not bow to me." His ministers and servants trembled when they saw their king in these rages. They had watched him grow more cruel with each passing day. What had begun as pride had become pure evil. The demon king saw enemies everywhere, even in the innocent face of his child. The universe itself began to cry out for help. The balance between good and evil had been broken. One being held too much power and used it only to cause suffering. The time was coming when something would have to give way. The darkness had grown so thick that even the smallest light seemed ready to break it open. Chapter 2: The Emergence of Narasimha, Divine Justice Unleashed. Part 1: Prahlada's Test of Faith on the Heated Pillar. The great palace trembled as the king roared in terrible anger. His eyes burned red like fire as he pointed his sharp finger at a tall marble pillar that stood in the center of the royal hall. "Child of mine, you speak of your God with such certainty. You say he lives everywhere and sees all things. Tell me now, does your precious Vishnu hide inside this cold stone pillar too?" The demon king's voice shook the walls. His golden armor gleamed as he stepped closer to his son. The court fell silent. Even the guards held their breath. Young Prahlada looked at his father with eyes full of peace. His small hands pressed together in prayer. Though he was just a boy, his voice carried the strength of mountains. "Yes, my father, the Lord lives in that pillar just as he lives in every grain of sand and every drop of water. He's present in the smallest ant and in the greatest star. Nothing exists where he is not." The king's laughter filled the hall like thunder before a storm. He drew his mighty sword and struck it against his chest plate. "Then let him come. Let this God of yours show his face. If he truly dwells within this pillar, let him emerge and face me now." Hiranyakashipu raised his heavy mace high above his head. The weapon had crushed armies and broken mountains. Now he aimed it at the innocent pillar. "I am the ruler of all three worlds. I have defeated death itself. No god dares to challenge my power. If your Vishnu has courage, let him appear before me this instant." The boy remained calm as still water. His faith never wavered, even as his father's rage grew wilder. "The Lord will come when he chooses, Father. His time is perfect. His justice never fails." The demon king's fury knew no bounds. He struck the pillar with his mace. The sound rang through the palace like a bell calling to heaven itself. In that moment, the very air began to change. Something stirred within the ancient stone. The pillar trembled, not from the king's blow, but from a power awakening within. The sun was setting, day was becoming night, neither light nor darkness ruled the sky. This was the hour between hours, when all things become possible. A sound began to grow from inside the pillar. It started soft like distant wind. Then it grew louder like the ocean in storm. Finally, it became a roar that shook the earth and made the stars tremble in fear. Part 2. The Miracle at Twilight. Narasimha emerges from the pillar. The roar grew stronger until it filled every corner of the world. From deep inside the pillar came a sound like the first cry of creation. The stone began to crack. Light poured from the breaks like liquid gold. The palace walls shook. The ground trembled beneath all feet. Then the pillar split open with thunder that made mountains bow. From within stepped forth a form that had never walked the earth before. Half man and half lion, neither fully one nor the other. The body was strong like a warrior king. The face was fierce like the lord of all beasts. Golden mane flowed like rivers of fire. Eyes blazed with the light of 1,000 suns. This was Narasimha, the fourth form of Lord Vishnu. He had come to answer the call of his devotee. His roar made demons flee to distant lands. His presence made the righteous weep with joy. The very air became sacred around him. The timing was perfect. The sun had set, but night had not yet come. This was twilight, the time between times. Neither day nor night ruled the sky. Purple and gold mixed in the heavens above. Stars began to show, but daylight had not fully gone. In this moment between moments, all things became possible. Hiranyakashipu stared in shock. His face went white as bone. His hands shook like leaves in wind. The mighty king who had conquered heaven and earth now trembled like a child. He knew his end had come. Narasimha's form was neither man nor animal. This was exactly what was needed. The demon king had received a boon that no man could kill him. No animal could harm him either. But here stood one who was both and neither. The boon had no power over this divine form. The great eyes of Narasimha burned with righteous anger. Here was justice taking shape. Here was protection for the innocent. The Lord had come exactly as needed, in exactly the right form, at exactly the right time. The palace filled with divine light. Every shadow fled away. Truth stood revealed in all its power. The tyrant's reign of terror was about to end. Dharma would be restored. The faithful would be saved. Prahlada fell to his knees in wonder and gratitude. His Lord had come just as he always knew he would. Part 3. The Throne of Death, killing Hiranyakashipu at the threshold. Narasimha's divine eyes blazed with fury at the demon king. The tyrant who had tortured the innocent for so long would face justice. With one mighty move, the Lord seized Hiranyakashipu in his powerful grip. The demon king struggled, but could not escape the divine hands that held him. Narasimha dragged him across the palace floor to the great doorway. There, between inside and outside, between the palace and the world beyond, the Lord stopped. This was the threshold. This was neither in nor out. Hiranyakashipu remembered his boon. He could not be killed inside any building. He could not be killed outside any building. But here at the doorway, he was in neither place. Fear filled his heart as he understood the divine plan. Narasimha sat down at the threshold and pulled the demon king onto his lap. Now Hiranyakashipu was neither on the ground nor floating in the sky. He was held in the space between earth and heaven, supported only by the Lord's divine form. The demon king tried to speak of his boon. He could not be killed by man or beast. But Narasimha was neither fully man nor fully beast. He could not be killed by any weapon. But the Lord raised his sharp claws, which were no weapons made by anyone. The time was twilight, neither day nor night. Every condition of the boon was being fulfilled, yet none could save the tyrant. Divine justice moved with perfect precision. With his mighty claws, Narasimha tore into the chest of Hiranyakashipu. The Demon King's life ended in that sacred moment. His reign of terror was finished. His body fell lifeless. The palace trembled with divine power. The act was complete. Justice had been served in the most perfect way. Every word of the boon had been honored. Yet the Demon King was dead. Truth had found its way around every barrier. Narasimha's roar filled the air. It was the sound of Dharma restored. It was the cry of protection for all good souls. It was the voice of divine love defending its devotees. The tyrant who thought himself beyond death lay destroyed. The one who mocked the Lord's power was powerless. The king who denied divine presence felt that presence end his life. In this threshold space, justice met mercy. Evil met its end. Protection came to the faithful. The cosmic order was restored through divine action that was both gentle and fierce, both loving and terrible. Part 4. The Boon's Loophole. How Narasimha defies death's conditions. Hiranyakashipu had received a special blessing from Lord Brahma. This blessing seemed to make him impossible to kill. But the Divine Lord found a way through every single condition. The blessing said he could not die during day or night. Narasimha came at twilight. This is the time between day and night. It is neither one nor the other. The first condition was passed. The blessing said no man or animal could kill him. Narasimha appeared as half man and half lion. He was neither fully man nor fully animal. The form was something completely new. The second condition was overcome. The blessing said he could not die on earth or in the sky. Narasimha placed Hiranyakashipu on his lap. His lap was neither the ground nor the air above. It was a space that belonged to neither realm. The third condition was avoided. The blessing said he could not die inside or outside any building. Narasimha dragged him to the doorway. The threshold is neither fully inside nor completely outside. It stands between both spaces. The fourth condition was bypassed. The blessing said no weapon could harm him. Narasimha used his own claws. Claws grow naturally from the divine body. They are not made by anyone. They are not weapons in the usual sense. The fifth condition was worked around. Each part of the blessing had seemed perfect. Hiranyakashipu thought he had covered every possibility. His pride made him believe he was truly beyond death. But divine wisdom sees what pride cannot see. The Lord's intelligence goes beyond all human planning. What seems impossible becomes possible through divine power. The blessing became the very path to justice. Every condition that protected the tyrant became the method of his destruction. This shows that Dharma always finds its way. No amount of clever planning can stop righteousness forever. Evil may seem protected by many barriers, but truth has the power to flow through any obstacle. Hiranyakashipu's arrogance blinded him to this reality. He thought his blessing made him equal to the divine. He forgot that all power comes from the same source. The one who gives blessings can also find ways beyond them. The scriptures teach that destiny works through divine will. What appears as protection for the wicked becomes their downfall. The same blessing that gave Hiranyakashipu confidence led to his end. This is how cosmic justice operates. Every word of the blessing was honored, yet every word was also overcome. This shows the difference between human thinking and divine wisdom. We see obstacles. The divine sees opportunities. We see walls. The divine sees doorways. A lesson remains clear for all time. Dharma cannot be stopped by any force. Truth will always triumph over falsehood. Devotion will always overcome arrogance. The divine protection of the faithful never fails. Part 5. Restoration of Dharma. triumph of devotion over evil. When Hiranyakashipu's body fell lifeless at the palace threshold, the earth itself seemed to breathe again. The terrible roar that had shaken the three worlds grew quiet. Narasimha stood in the doorway, his divine form still blazing with righteous anger. Blood dripped from his claws. The tyrant who had tormented gods and men lay broken. But the Lord's fury did not cool. His eyes burned like twin suns. His mane flowed like liquid fire. None dared approach him, not even the gods who had prayed for this moment. They watched from the heavens, trembling. Victory had come, but divine wrath still filled the palace halls. Then small footsteps echoed across the marble floor. Prahlada walked forward without fear. The child who had endured poison, fire, and countless tortures now approached the terrifying form of his beloved Lord. The devotee's heart knew only love. "My Lord," Prahlada whispered, falling at Narasimha's feet. "You have come to protect your servant. Your justice is perfect. Please calm your anger now. Evil is destroyed. Dharma stands restored." The boy's pure devotion worked like cool water on burning coals. Narasimha's blazing eyes softened as he looked down at his faithful child. The divine fury that had struck terror into demon hearts melted into infinite compassion. The Lord's hand, still stained with the tyrant's blood, gently touched Prahlada's head in blessing. "Rise, my devotee," Narasimha spoke, his voice now gentle as a father's. "Your faith has moved my heart. Through all suffering, you never forgot me. Such devotion conquers even death." As Narasimha blessed Prahlada, light returned to the world. The sun emerged from behind dark clouds. Flowers bloomed in the palace gardens. Birds began to sing again. The oppressive weight that had crushed all living beings lifted like morning mist. From the heavens came sounds of celebration. The gods showered flower petals on the palace. Drums of victory echoed across the universe. Indra's voice rang out in praise. Brahma spoke words of gratitude. All creation rejoiced that the enemy of Dharma was no more. Narasimha lifted Prahlada and placed him on the very throne where Hiranyakashipu had sat in arrogance. Rule with righteousness. The Lord commanded, "Protect the good and punish the wicked. Remember always that true strength comes from devotion, not from pride." The palace that had been filled with screams now echoed with prayers. Temples reopened their doors. Sages came out of hiding to perform sacred rituals. The worship of the divine, forbidden for so long, resumed across the land. Evil had been crushed by its own pride. The boon meant to protect the demon became the very means of his destruction. This is how divine justice works. Those who oppose Dharma create their own downfall. Those who serve truth with pure hearts receive protection beyond all earthly power. The story teaches us that devotion mixed with truth can never be defeated. No matter how strong evil appears, Dharma will always triumph in the end. Chapter 3. The Aftermath. Unleashed Fury of Narasimha. Part 1. Narasimha's Wrath. The Danger of Unchecked Divine Fury. When Hiranyakashipu fell dead, his body torn by divine claws, the demon's blood stained the earth red. But Lord Narasimha's anger did not end with the tyrant's death. The half-man, half-lion form of Vishnu stood over the lifeless body. His eyes still burning like two suns, his mighty chest heaving with rage that had not yet cooled. The Lord's roar echoed through all the worlds. Mountains shook from their roots. Rivers changed their course in fear. The very pillars of the universe trembled as if they would break apart. Narasimha's divine fury, which had protected the innocent child Prahlada, now threatened to destroy everything in its path. His claws dripped with the demon's blood, and each drop that fell to earth burned like fire. His mane stood wild and fierce, moving like flames in a storm. His teeth gleamed white and sharp, still bared in anger. The Lord's breathing was like thunder, and with each breath, winds rose that could flatten forests. The divine form paced back and forth, unable to find peace. The righteous anger that had given him strength to kill the demon had grown beyond all bounds. Like a fire that burns the enemy's house but then spreads to consume the whole village. This holy rage now posed danger to all creation. From the heavens, the gods watched in growing fear. They had prayed for Hiranyakashipu's death, and their prayers had been answered. But now they saw that divine wrath, once awakened, does not easily return to sleep. The very power that protects the good can also destroy the innocent if it burns without control. Narasimha's steps cracked the earth beneath him. Where he walked, the ground split open and fire came up from below. His eyes looked in all directions, seeking more enemies to fight, but finding none worthy of his strength. Yet the anger remained like a river in flood that cannot return to its banks. The saints and sages who had suffered under Hiranyakashipu's rule now trembled before their savior. They had called for justice, and justice had come. But they learned that divine justice is like lightning. It strikes with perfect aim, but burns everything near its path. Even young Prahlada, the devoted child for whom all this had begun, stood at a distance. Though he loved the Lord with all his heart, he dared not approach this terrible form. The same hands that would normally bless devotees now bore claws that could tear apart worlds. The cosmos itself seemed to bend under the weight of this uncontrolled divine power. Stars moved from their places. Time itself moved differently in the presence of such rage. The natural order that governs all things began to weaken. For even Dharma requires balance to sustain the universe. Thus, the scriptures teach us that divine power, though always pure in purpose, must be tempered with wisdom and peace to preserve creation itself. Part 2. Gods in Fear. The trembling heavens and earth. When Narasimha's rage filled all directions, the heavens shook with terror. The gods who had once called upon the Lord to save them now trembled in fear. They watched from their celestial realms as the divine fury burned without end. Brahma, the creator of all worlds, stood at a great distance. Though he was the first among beings and held the power of creation itself, he dared not step forward. His 4 faces turned pale as he witnessed the terrible form of Hari. The lotus that always bloomed from his navel withered in the heat of that divine anger. Even Lakshmi, the eternal consort of Vishnu, remained far away. She who never leaves the Lord's side in any form now watched with troubled eyes. Her gentle nature could not approach this fierce manifestation of her beloved. The goddess who brings peace and prosperity to all worlds knew that her soft touch would not calm this storm. The wind gods stopped their movement. The sun dimmed its light. The moon hid behind clouds that formed without cause. All of nature's forces, which normally flow in perfect order, became still with fear. The very elements that serve the Supreme Lord now cowered before his wrath. In the earthly realm, sages who spent their lives in meditation and prayer closed their eyes tight. They chanted the holy names, but even their pure voices seemed small against the roar that shook the cosmos. The rishis who could speak directly with gods now found themselves speechless with awe and terror. The devas gathered in hushed groups, speaking in whispers. Indra, king of the heavens, held his thunderbolt with trembling hands. Vayu, lord of winds, had no breath to offer. Varuna, master of waters, saw his oceans boil with the heat of divine anger. Each god who ruled over aspects of creation found their domains disturbed by this uncontrolled power. This was divine energy in its purest form, but without the balance that preserves life. Raw power flowed like a river that has broken all dams. The same force that creates worlds was now shaking them to their foundations. The scriptures teach that even the most sacred power must flow through channels of wisdom and compassion to sustain creation. As the cosmic trembling continued, all beings realized a truth both wonderful and terrible. The power that protects them is the same power that could destroy everything. Divine love, when mixed with fury, becomes a force beyond all understanding. Only another divine will could stand before such might and restore the balance that keeps all worlds in their proper place. Part 3. Failed calming attempts, Virabhadra and the divine warnings. Seeing their terror grow with each passing moment, the gods gathered in council to find a way to calm the great Narasimha. His rage showed no signs of ending, and creation itself groaned under the weight of his divine fury. The wise ones among them knew that someone must approach the fierce form. But who could dare face such unlimited power? First, they called upon the great beings known for their strength and courage. Virabhadra, the mighty warrior born from Shiva's anger, stepped forward. He was no ordinary being, but a force of destruction himself, feared by demons and respected by gods. His form blazed with divine fire, and his weapons could shatter mountains. When Virabhadra approached Narasimha, his confidence melted like snow before the sun. The Lion Man's eyes burned brighter than 1,000 fires. His roar made Virabhadra's powerful frame tremble. Even this fierce warrior, who had once destroyed Daksha's sacrifice, could not stand before such rage. He retreated quickly, his pride broken. The gods then sent other mighty beings, each hoping their special powers might succeed where Virabhadra had failed. They sent the wind gods, who could blow through any space, thinking they might cool the burning anger. They sent the water deities, hoping their gentle nature might soothe the fury. They even sent Agni, the fire god, thinking that one fire might understand another. Each messenger returned more frightened than the last. None could even speak properly in Narasimha's presence. His anger was not like human anger that comes and goes. It was divine wrath in its purest form, righteous but terrible, protective but dangerous to all existence. Some tried to offer prayers from a distance, hoping their words might reach his heart. Others brought sacred offerings, thinking gifts might please him. But Narasimha paid no attention to their efforts. His rage was complete, filling every part of his being. He walked through the cosmos like a storm that knows no boundary. The gods began to understand that ordinary methods would not work. This was not a problem that could be solved through strength alone, or through pleasing words, or through clever plans. The fury they faced was beyond their experience. It was the anger of the Supreme Lord himself, and only another divine power of equal greatness could hope to address it. As their fear deepened, whispers began among them about the only being who might have the power and wisdom to face such a situation. But even speaking his name required great courage, for they knew that calling upon him would mean admitting their complete helplessness. The cosmic balance hung in the balance, waiting for someone brave enough to take the final step. Part 4. Increasing chaos, the urgent need for balance. The cosmic order began to crack under the weight of Narasimha's endless fury. His roars grew louder with each passing moment, sending shockwaves through all the worlds. The earth trembled so violently that mountains began to split. The oceans rose and fell like restless giants. The very fabric of reality started to bend and twist around his divine presence. In the heavenly realms, the gods watched in growing terror as their domains shook without stopping. Celestial beings who had lived for countless ages had never seen such power run wild. The stars themselves seemed to flicker with fear. Divine gardens withered under the heat of his anger. Sacred rivers changed their course to flee from the sound of his voice. Time itself began to move strangely in his presence. In some places, it crawled like a wounded animal. In others, it raced forward like a mad horse. The natural laws that held all creation together were breaking apart piece by piece. Seasons mixed together in confusion. Day and night lost their proper order. The wise sages who could see across all realms spoke in hushed tones about what they witnessed. They saw the threads that connected all life starting to snap. They watched as the careful balance between creation and destruction tilted dangerously toward chaos. Their holy texts and ancient knowledge offered no guidance for such a situation. Even Brahma, the creator of all things, felt his own power shake before this unstoppable force. He could create new worlds, but he could not calm this divine storm. Vishnu, in his other forms, remained distant and silent. The cosmic wheel that turned the ages forward seemed stuck in place, unable to move past this moment of pure rage. The gods gathered in desperate council. Their voices carried panic that none had ever felt before. They spoke of worlds that might be lost forever. They worried about mortals and immortals alike being swept away in this tide of divine anger. Every moment that passed brought them closer to complete cosmic collapse. In their deepest fear, they knew the truth they had been avoiding. Only one being possessed both the power to match Narasimha and the wisdom to restore balance. Only the Great Destroyer, who was also the Great Protector, could step into this storm and bring peace. Only Shiva, the Lord of both creation and ending, could face the Supreme Lord in his most terrible form. The time for hesitation had passed. The universe itself cried out for intervention. The gods prepared to take the step they had feared most. They would call upon Shiva, knowing that his response would determine the fate of all existence. Chapter 4. Shiva's Intervention. The Sharabha Avatar. Part 1. Manifestation of Sharabha, the lion bird beast to tame Narasimha. When the rage of Narasimha threatened to consume all creation, Lord Shiva knew that only the most powerful form could restore balance. The lion man's fury had grown beyond measure, and his roar shook the very foundations of the three worlds. Even after the demon Hiranyakashipu lay dead, Narasimha's anger burned like an endless fire. Seeing this great danger, Shiva began to take on a form unlike any seen before. His divine body started to change and grow. From his sacred form emerged something terrifying and magnificent, the Sharabha. This was not merely a lion, nor just a bird, nor simply human. It was all three beings joined together in perfect power. The Sharabha form stood tall, with 8 mighty legs that could crush mountains beneath them. Each leg held the strength of 1,000 elephants. Massive wings spread from its back, so large they could cover the sun and moon. These wings beat with such force that they created storms across the heavens. The body combined the fierce strength of a lion with the swift power of a great bird. The head bore features both human and divine, showing wisdom mixed with terrible might. Sharp claws extended from each foot, capable of tearing through any armor or shield. The eyes blazed with divine fire that could see through all illusions. Ancient texts tell us that this Sharabha form possessed unbeatable strength. No force in creation could match its power. It was born from Shiva's will to protect the universe from destruction. When excessive force threatens cosmic order, an even greater force must arise to contain it. The Sharabha represents the ultimate restrainer. Just as a mighty dam holds back raging floods, this divine form exists to hold back uncontrolled fury. It shows us that even righteous anger must have limits. Without such limits, even divine rage can become dangerous to the very creation it seeks to protect. This form also teaches us about balance in power. When any single force, no matter how pure its intention, grows without restraint, it needs a counterforce to maintain harmony. The Sharabha embodies this principle of cosmic balance. As Shiva completed his transformation into this fearsome being, all the gods watched in wonder and fear. Here was a form that could match Narasimha's fury with even greater strength. The stage was set for a battle between two aspects of divine power, one representing righteous anger, the other representing the wisdom to control that anger. The Sharabha stood ready, its 8 legs planted firmly, wings spread wide, prepared to face the raging Lion Man and restore peace to the shaking cosmos. Part 2. The Epic Battle. Sharabha overpowers the furious Narasimha. The moment had arrived. Across the trembling heavens, Sharabha faced the mighty Narasimha. The Lion Man's eyes burned like twin suns, his claws gleamed like lightning, and his roar shook the very foundations of existence. But Sharabha stood unmoved, his 8 powerful legs planted firmly on the cosmic ground, his vast wings casting shadows across multiple worlds. The battle began with a force that made the universe shudder. Narasimha charged forward with the speed of 1,000 storms, his terrible form blazing with divine fury. His claws struck out like weapons forged from pure fire. Each blow carried the weight of justice itself, the power that had destroyed the demon Hiranyakashipu. But Sharabha was ready. The great beast caught Narasimha's strike with one massive paw, while his wings created winds that could move mountains. When Narasimha leaped high into the sky, Sharabha rose even higher, his bird-like form soaring beyond the reach of mortal sight. The clash of these two divine beings sent shockwaves through every realm. The gods watched in amazement and terror. Never before had they witnessed such a display of raw power. Lightning split the heavens, the earth cracked and groaned, the oceans rose in giant waves, stars trembled in their paths across the night sky. Narasimha fought with all the strength that had made him the protector of devotees and the destroyer of evil. His roar could break the will of demons. His claws could tear through any armor. His fury burned hotter than the fire at the end of time itself. Yet slowly, gradually, Sharabha began to gain the upper hand. His 8 legs gave him stability that Narasimha could not match. His wings allowed him to strike from angles the Lion Man could not reach. His composite form combined the best qualities of many creatures into one unstoppable force. With careful but overwhelming strength, Sharabha began to subdue the raging Narasimha. He used his powerful limbs to restrain the Lion Man's movements. His wings wrapped around Narasimha like divine nets. Slowly but surely, the Sharabha form began to overpower the avatar of Vishnu. This was not a battle of hatred or rivalry. It was the cosmic law in action. Just as a river needs banks to guide its flow, divine power needs restraint to prevent destruction. Narasimha's righteous anger had served its purpose in destroying evil, but now it threatened to consume everything in its path. The defeat was not shameful but necessary. Through his greater strength, Sharabha demonstrated the eternal truth that even the mightiest force must submit to the wisdom of balance and control. Part 3. The Subjugation and Taming. Narasimha's submission to Shiva. With Narasimha brought low by the mighty Sharabha, the work of restoration began. The fierce Lion Man who had shaken the 3 worlds now lay subdued, his terrible anger slowly giving way to divine wisdom. Shiva, in his Sharabha form, did not seek to destroy, but to heal. The great beast god approached the fallen Narasimha with measured steps. His 8 legs moved with careful grace, no longer the thunderous charge of battle. The massive wings folded gently against his body. Where once there had been the roar of cosmic conflict, now there was only the soft sound of divine breath. Shiva began the sacred work of calming the storm within Narasimha's heart. Like a skilled physician treating a fevered patient, he applied the medicine of peace to the wounds of rage. His presence alone was like cool water on burning coals. The red fury in Narasimha's eyes began to fade, replaced by the golden light of understanding. Slowly, Narasimha's breathing became steady. His claws, which had torn through mountains, relaxed and touched the earth gently. The terrible mane that had bristled with divine wrath now lay smooth and peaceful. The transformation was not forced, but welcomed, as a tired warrior welcomes rest after battle. In that moment of surrender, Narasimha saw the truth clearly. His anger had been righteous and necessary when he destroyed the demon Hiranyakashipu. But that same anger, left unchecked, had become a threat to all creation. Even the gods in heaven had trembled. Even the saints on earth had fled in fear. Recognition dawned in the Lion Man's eyes. This was not defeat, but deliverance. Shiva had not come as an enemy, but as a friend. The intervention was an act of cosmic mercy, preventing the destruction that would have followed if the rage had continued unchecked. Narasimha bowed his great head before the Sharabha form. In that gesture of submission, he acknowledged the wisdom of divine balance. No single aspect of Godhead, however righteous, could be allowed to overwhelm the others. Even justice must bow to harmony. Even strength must yield to wisdom. The cosmic order required this moment of taming. Just as fire serves creation when controlled, but destroys when unleashed, divine anger serves Dharma when directed properly, but becomes chaos when left free. Narasimha understood this eternal law and accepted his place within it. Shiva's intervention had worked perfectly. The fever of rage was broken. The divine composure of Narasimha was restored. The balance of the universe was preserved through this sacred act of subjugation. Part 4. The Symbolic Victory, Decapitation and the Wearing of the Lion Skin. In certain Shaiva teachings, the great Sharabha did not merely tame Narasimha, but performed an act of complete mastery. The mighty bird-lion creature, with claws sharper than lightning and strength beyond measure, severed the head of the lion form. This was not destruction, but transformation. The rage that had consumed Narasimha was cut away like disease from healthy flesh. The head of the lion, symbol of uncontrolled fury, was separated from the divine essence of Vishnu. What remained was pure consciousness, free from the burning anger that had threatened all creation. The act was swift and merciful, performed not in hatred, but in divine necessity. Sharabha then took the lion's skin and wore it as a garment. This was the mark of victory, the sign that wild force had been brought under control. Just as a hunter wears the skin of the beast he has conquered, Shiva wore the form of rage itself to show his mastery over it. The skin became a sacred reminder that even the mightiest fury must bow to higher wisdom. This wearing of the lion skin held deep meaning. It showed that Shiva had not destroyed the power of Narasimha, but had claimed it for Dharma. The strength remained, but now it served the cosmic order instead of threatening it. The skin represented the transformation of raw power into controlled force, of blind anger into righteous action. In the Shaiva traditions that tell this story, the act is seen as proof of Shiva's supreme nature. He alone could face the full fury of Vishnu's avatar and emerge victorious. He alone could wear the skin of divine rage without being consumed by it. This made him the protector of all existence, the one who ensures that no force, however sacred, grows beyond its proper bounds. The severed head and worn skin became symbols in temple worship. They reminded devotees that all power must serve the greater good. They showed that even gods must accept limits when the welfare of creation demands it. The image taught that true strength lies not in unleashing force, but in controlling it wisely. Yet this victory was not meant to diminish Vishnu or Narasimha. The Shaiva texts that speak of this triumph also acknowledge that both gods serve the same ultimate purpose. The beheading was an act of love, performed to restore balance. The wearing of the skin was a sign of unity, showing that the powers of both deities work together for Dharma. Part 5. Unity of Powers, Shiva and Vishnu as inseparable forces. After the symbolic victory, both Shiva and Vishnu stood before the assembly of gods and sages. The cosmic battle had ended, but its deeper meaning was about to be revealed. Brahma spoke first, his 4 faces glowing with wisdom. "Behold, children of creation, what you have witnessed is not conflict between rivals. You have seen the divine dance of balance itself. Shiva and Vishnu are not separate powers fighting for supremacy. They are 2 aspects of the same eternal truth." The sages bowed their heads as understanding dawned. Narasimha, now calm and radiant, looked upon Sharabha with eyes full of recognition. "O Lord of destruction and creation," Narasimha said, "I see now that your intervention was not an attack upon me, but a gift. My anger burned so fierce that it threatened to consume the very realms I sought to protect." Sharabha's form began to shimmer and change, returning to Shiva's familiar appearance. "And I, dear Vishnu," Shiva replied, "could not act without your preservation force already present in creation. Your Narasimha form showed the strength needed to protect Dharma. My Sharabha form provided the restraint needed to preserve it. Neither could accomplish the full purpose alone." The 2 gods embraced, and where they touched, light spread across all the worlds. Their embrace showed that destruction and preservation work as one process, not as opposing forces. Creation needs both the fierce protection of Vishnu and the wise restraint of Shiva. The devotees who had watched in fear now understood a profound teaching. Those who worship Vishnu and those who worship Shiva were not following different paths. They were honoring different aspects of the same divine reality that governs all existence. "Let no follower of mine claim superiority over devotees of Vishnu," Shiva declared. "Let no worshipper of Vishnu consider themselves separate from those who honor me. We are one truth appearing in many forms to serve the needs of creation." Vishnu nodded in agreement. "In every temple where my name is praised, let Shiva's presence be acknowledged. In every place where Shiva is worshipped, let my essence be recognized." For Dharma requires both our powers working in perfect harmony. The gods departed, but their unity remained as a teaching for all beings. The story of Sharabha and Narasimha became a sacred reminder that divine power, when properly understood, is never about domination, but always about serving the highest good of all creation. Chapter 5: Legacy and Symbolism. Lessons from the Divine Conflict. Part 1: Philosophical Reconciliation. Shaiva and Vaishnava Perspectives. When sacred texts speak of the great meeting between Narasimha and Sharabha, different groups of devoted followers see different truths in this divine event. The followers of Shiva tell one story, the followers of Vishnu tell another. Both stories carry deep wisdom. Those who worship Shiva as the highest say that when Narasimha's anger burned too hot after killing the demon king, Shiva took the form of Sharabha to bring peace. They say Sharabha came not to fight, but to cool the fire of rage that still burned in Narasimha's heart. In this telling, Shiva acts as the great teacher who shows that even righteous anger must have limits. The bird beast Sharabha wrapped Narasimha gently and brought him back to calm. This shows Shiva as the one who brings balance when forces become too strong. Those who worship Vishnu as the supreme tell a different truth. They say that when Sharabha appeared, Narasimha took an even greater form to match this new challenge. In their sacred books, Narasimha becomes Gandhabharunda, the two-headed eagle of terrible power. This form shows that Vishnu's protective force has no equal. The battle ends not with one defeating the other, but with both recognizing the other's divine nature. They see this as proof that Vishnu's power to protect his devotees cannot be stopped by any force. The wise teachers of both paths now speak of a third understanding. They say both stories point to the same eternal truth. The meeting of these great forms shows that the divine has many faces, but all serve the same cosmic law. When Narasimha's fierce protection meets Sharabha's calming power, they create perfect balance. Neither wins because both are needed. This sacred episode becomes the model for ending religious arguments. When followers of different paths disagree about divine truth, they can remember this meeting. The great forces of Narasimha and Sharabha teach that different aspects of the divine can work together rather than fight against each other. In temples across the land, priests from both traditions now tell this story as one of unity. They teach that protection and peace, fierce love and gentle wisdom, angry justice and calm mercy are all faces of the same eternal truth. The cosmic battle becomes a cosmic dance where all divine qualities find their proper place in keeping the universe in balance. Part 2. The myth's role in preserving cosmic order and moral boundaries. When the mighty Narasimha rose from the pillar with fire in his eyes and death on his claws, the worlds trembled. But even this great divine anger, sent to protect the innocent devotee Prahlada, had its limits written in the cosmic law. The scriptures tell us that no force, however sacred or necessary, can act without boundaries. The Lord, who came as half man and half lion, carried the weight of justice itself. His fury burned to cleanse the world of evil. His roar shook the three worlds. His claws tore through the demon king who had tortured his own son for speaking the holy name. This was divine justice in its purest form, terrible and swift. Yet even this perfect justice needed to return to balance. The cosmic order demands that every action, every force, every divine intervention must find its proper place and time. When Narasimha's work was complete, when the demon lay dead and Dharma was restored, the fierce form needed to calm itself. The universe cannot hold unlimited anger, even righteous anger, for too long. This is why Lord Sharabha appeared, not to fight against justice, but to help divine force return to its proper measure. The cosmic laws that govern all existence apply even to the gods themselves. When protection becomes too fierce, wisdom must gentle it. When justice burns too hot, peace must cool it. When necessary violence completes its task, compassion must take its place. The meeting of these two great forms teaches us that the universe operates through careful balance. Every quality has its time and place. Anger serves Dharma when evil threatens the innocent. Gentleness serves Dharma when peace needs to return. Both fierce protection and calm wisdom flow from the same eternal source. The cosmic order depends on this perfect timing. Divine force acts when needed, then withdraws when its work is done. This is how the universe maintains its balance through countless ages. The gods themselves follow these eternal laws, showing all beings how to live within proper boundaries. In this way, the divine conflict becomes a lesson in cosmic responsibility. Even the mightiest powers must know when to act and when to rest. Even the most necessary force must recognize its limits. The universe continues in harmony because every power, however great, respects the eternal law that keeps all things in their proper place and time. Part 3. Cultural Celebrations, Holi and Narasimha Jayanti. Cultural celebrations, Holi and Narasimha Jayanti. The sacred story of Narasimha and Shiva comes alive during the great festivals when devotees gather to remember divine protection and cosmic order. During Narasimha Jayanti, temples across the land echo with prayers to the lion-faced form of Vishnu, who destroyed evil and saved his devotee. On this holy day, priests recite the complete tale of Prahlada's faith and Hiranyakashipu's destruction. They tell how divine anger arose to protect the innocent and how cosmic forces work together to restore peace. Devotees fast and pray, remembering that righteousness always triumphs over wickedness when divine grace flows toward pure hearts. The festival of Holi also carries echoes of this divine drama. When people light the great fire on Holika Dahan, they remember how the demoness Holika tried to burn young Prahlada, but perished herself. The flames that night represent the burning away of all evil forces that oppose divine law. As the fire blazes, families gather to sing songs praising Narasimha's victory over darkness. During these celebrations, the story becomes a living truth rather than ancient history. Children learn that devoted hearts receive divine protection. Elders recall that even the mightiest powers must bow before cosmic justice. The tale teaches that righteousness will always find divine support when evil grows too strong. In temple festivals, performers enact the great battle between divine forces. They show how Narasimha's fierce form appeared to destroy the Demon King. They demonstrate how Shiva's calming presence restored universal balance. Through dance and song, the community experiences the eternal truth that the universe protects those who walk the righteous path. These celebrations transform the ancient story into present reality. When devotees see the dramatic performances, they understand that divine protection still flows towards sincere hearts. When they participate in the rituals, they join the eternal cycle where good defeats evil through divine grace. The festivals remind all people that cosmic order depends on each soul choosing righteousness over selfish desires. They show that devotion combined with moral action creates the conditions for divine intervention. Through these sacred celebrations, the wisdom of the ages passes to new generations, keeping the eternal teachings alive in human hearts and minds. Part 4. The Enduring Image: Temples, Art, and Eternal Worship. Sacred temples across India hold the eternal memory of this divine conflict within their carved stones and painted walls. Ancient sculptors shaped the fierce form of Narasimha with perfect devotion, showing his half-man, half-lion body, protecting the innocent. These temple images preserve every detail of the cosmic battle for future generations to witness and remember. The great temples of Ahobilam house 16 different forms of Lord Narasimha, each telling part of the sacred story. Pilgrims travel vast distances to stand before these divine images and offer their prayers. The temple walls display intricate carvings that show Prahlada's unwavering faith and his divine protector's fierce love. Every carved figure speaks of the victory of righteousness over cruelty. Classical dancers perform the ancient story through sacred movements passed down through centuries. Their graceful gestures bring the divine drama to life before gathered devotees. When they dance as Narasimha, their movements show both terrible power and tender compassion. When they portray Prahlada, their expressions reveal pure devotion that touches every watching heart. Temple priests continue the daily worship rituals that honor both aspects of the divine conflict. They offer flowers and sacred food to the fierce protector while chanting ancient prayers. The temple bells ring out the same sounds that have called devotees to worship for countless generations. These daily rituals keep the connection between heaven and earth strong and clear. Artists throughout history have painted the sacred battle on temple ceilings and manuscript pages. Their brushstrokes capture the moment when divine justice appears to save the devoted child. These paintings show Hiranyakashipu's shock and Prahlada's joy with colors that still shine bright after many centuries. Each artistic work preserves the teaching that sincere faith always receives divine protection. The architectural design of Narasimha temples reflects the cosmic principles shown in the story. The temple structure itself represents the divine order that the Lord came to restore. Devotees who enter these sacred spaces feel the same peace that came when cosmic balance returned after the great conflict. Bronze sculptures in temple sanctuaries show the exact moment of divine intervention with perfect detail. These metal forms hold the spiritual power of the original event, allowing worshippers to experience the sacred presence directly. The craftsmen who created these holy images worked with prayer and meditation, making each piece a doorway to the divine realm. Sacred texts written on palm leaves, preserve the complete story in temple libraries. These ancient books contain the exact words and teachings that flow from the divine conflict. Scholars and devotees study these texts to understand the deeper meaning of cosmic justice and divine protection. Through temples, art, and continuous worship, the eternal teaching remains alive in human consciousness. Each carved stone and painted image reminds believers that divine love protects those who choose the righteous path. The sacred story continues to inspire new generations through these permanent forms of divine memory. Part 5. The Divine Balance. Spiritual Lessons from the Clash of Titans. When the great powers of the universe meet, the divine truth becomes clear. The sacred meeting between Lord Narasimha and Lord Shiva teaches all beings that even the highest divine forces must work within the laws of creation. No power, however great, can act without regard for cosmic order. Justice flows from the heart of the divine, but it must always walk hand in hand with compassion. When Lord Narasimha appeared in terrible form to protect young Prahlada, his anger was pure and righteous. Yet even this sacred anger needed the gentle touch of divine wisdom to find its proper place. Lord Shiva came not to oppose, but to complete the divine work through peaceful balance. The sacred texts teach that creation needs both protection and peace. Fire burns away evil, but water cools and heals. Thunder breaks the silence of injustice, but gentle rain nurtures new growth. Both aspects serve the same eternal purpose: to maintain the sacred order that allows life to flourish. When devotees witness this divine truth, they learn that their own actions must follow this pattern. Righteous anger against wrong must be tempered by mercy toward those who suffer. Strength must be guided by wisdom. Victory must lead to peace, not endless conflict. The cosmic balance shows that every force has its proper time and place. The fierce protection of the innocent calls forth divine intervention. The restoration of peace requires divine wisdom. Neither can complete the sacred work alone. Together, they create the perfect harmony that governs all existence. This divine meeting teaches that true power lies not in destruction or dominance, but in knowing when to act and when to be still. The greatest strength shows itself through restraint when the righteous purpose has been achieved. Divine wrath serves divine love, and divine love guides divine wrath. Those who understand this sacred balance become instruments of cosmic harmony in their own lives. They protect what is pure without becoming consumed by anger. They seek justice without losing compassion. They stand firm in truth while remaining humble before the infinite wisdom that governs all things. The eternal teaching remains simple and clear. Divine forces work together, not against each other, to maintain the sacred order. Justice and compassion, strength and gentleness, protection and peace, all flow from the same eternal source and serve the same divine purpose.